What's up, man?
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, Moose and Keith.
Good
Here we
morning.
go. Here we go
That's
on a
it.
Monday. NFL
Uh,
is over.
yeah.
That's it. What do
Uh,
we want to talk about today?
NFL
Just kidding.
season, the rearview mirror. There's so much to unpack with Super Bowl
Wow.
57. I mean, what a game. An all-time great game that was marred by a penalty flag at the end of the game. You saw the intestinal fortitude of Jalen Hurts coming back after the fumble and the scoop and score from 36 yards out by Nick Bolton. You saw the Eagles play to what they've been through all season long, which is jump out in front of teams, led that game by 10 points at the half. And you saw the adjustments by the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, I feel for you, Keith, a huge Eagles fan. I feel for my son Jackson, a huge Eagles fan. And I know in this marketplace there are Giant fans that were popping champagne bottles last night after that game went final because they didn't want to see Nick Sirianni or the Philadelphia Eagles or them win a Super Bowl for the second time in 5 years. But what you got at the end of the game is, and what the NFL needs to really clean up during the course of the offseason. And I don't think they will, because you have Roger Goodell, when he had his commissioner's presser leading up to Super Bowl 57 yesterday, saying that he thought the officiating was as good as it could be during the regular season. The penalty flags and the timing of the penalty flags were too big of a storyline this year in the NFL. There's no other way to cut it. And last night, unfortunately, in the biggest game where the nation is watching, where if you don't have to be the biggest football fan to be locked into Super Bowl 57, you get a ticky-tack penalty called that ended the football game and prevented us from maybe getting a dramatic finish with the Eagles having the ball in their hands, 2 timeouts with 1:45 to go in regulation, down 3, with an opportunity either to win it or an opportunity to force overtime. That's what was prevented last night, and that's infuriating.
I have not hid my fandom here. I haven't. I'm an Eagles fan. Love the Eagles. Love watching them play. Have loved the Eagles for a long time. I want to start things off by saying congratulations to the Chiefs. Amazing game by them. The fact that they were down by 10 points and, unlike the Eagles, they made some changes to their game plan. They switched a few things up in the second half, and they absolutely dominated the second half. And Patrick Mahomes is absolutely a rock star, future first ballot Hall of Famer, playing on one leg, was amazing. Kelsey was awesome. Some of the play calling by Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy had the Eagles defense fooled. Now, with all that being said, was it a penalty? And I think that's going to be the big question. It's a shame, right? Because we shouldn't have to. Wouldn't it have been better? Let's say the Chiefs win this game. Moose, Chiefs win this game. It's 38-35 the final. Game-winning field goal by Harrison Butker. And we all sit here and bask in the glory of Mahomes. Instead, the prevailing storyline is, should that flag have been thrown or not? And Moose, I want to do the wash, rinse, repeat. I want to take you back 2 weeks ago. And I want to give you the floor again, okay? Because I thought you nailed it 2 weeks ago with the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs. And you talked a lot about timing of flags and timing of things like that. How about the fact that the Eagles and the Chiefs had not had a single holding call the entire game? That's the time you choose to call a holding call behind the line of scrimmage where you're allowed to clutch and grab a little bit. I don't know. I think you got to swallow that and let the play go.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was infuriating. I was at WPIX last night. After doing a talk over at the Meadowlands with Amani Toomer before the game. They had a little bit of a get together, and the place was packed, and a lot of Eagle fans and a lot of people that were back in the Kansas City Chiefs, and great atmosphere. And I just don't understand how you get to that point. Last night at WPIX, when that call gets made, and mind you, the majority of the sports department are all Giant fans, so majority of them are celebrating because they're rooting against the Philadelphia Eagles because they don't want to see the Eagles win a Super Bowl. So you have to understand there's a couple ways to look at it. Anytime you hop on social media, and I was critical on social media last night as of that call. The timing of that call is, number one, is those that are Giant fans that are rooting against the Philadelphia Eagles and those that bet on the Kansas City Chiefs. because, I mean, everyone's got a slant. And mind you, I picked the Philadelphia Eagles to win the game. I thought the Eagles were going to win the game. And Keith and I made that perfectly clear over the course of the last 2 weeks. You cannot. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, you cannot make that call. So you mean to tell me that you're not going to call defensive holding the entire game? The entire game, right? How many offensive holding calls did he get the game? So the Eagles, meanwhile, where they're playing on grass, so the NFL is going out there and and everyone's slipping and sliding. That's another point to get into at some point over the course of the next 2 hours. But there you have an Eagle historic pass rush. They get little to no pressure on Patrick Mahomes the entire game, and there's not one holding call the entire game on the offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs. That, to me, is utterly amazing when we know one of their starting tackles should not even be a starting tackle in the National Football League. But, everything was – and you decide at that stage, on a 3rd and 8 play, when Juju Smith-Schuster couldn't even locate the ball in the air. That ball had no opportunity because the Eagles actually got some pressure on Patrick Mahomes of ever being completed. That's the one where you're going to give the Kansas City Chiefs a first down and end that football game, because it ended the game. So just like we saw in the AFC Championship game, and people were, and I was critical of that call at that end, because on Osai, the young defensive end linebacker for the Cincinnati Bengals, who played an unbelievable game in that AFC Championship game. And let's be perfectly honest, if that game goes to overtime, it's the Cincinnati Bengals that are all likely going to go to the Super Bowl, because they were dominated the entire second half. So you get a game now where you're going to call that at the end in Super Bowl 57, where that's the conversation. I don't care what James Bradbury has to say after the game saying I held him. Well, what do you want him to do? Say, I think it's a bogus call and get fined $25,000 by the National Football League? I mean, is he moronic? He likes to have money. We all want money. He's not going to be an idiot. He's not going to rip the officials after the game. But I had people firing back on that on social media. Well, Bradbury thinks it's a penalty. What do you want him to do? The game has been decided. You want to add, a fine on top of it and a letter in the locker after the game if Bradbury's ultra critical of it. So you cannot make that call. And listen, I'm a Washington fan. I'm not even an Eagle fan. I am just an NFL fan, but we were all robbed last night. That's what we were. We were robbed of an ending that could have been historic. However way it played out, you made a decision last night as an officiating crew where you were going to let the guys on the field decide it. You were going to let the guys on the field decide it until the end. Why the switch? That's where there had to be cooler heads prevailed when they met up after that flag was thrown. Someone needed in that huddle of the officials on the field and say, listen, are you comfortable with basically handing the Chiefs the Super Bowl here? Was that call so egregious, such an egregious holding call, that you're handing the Kansas City Chiefs the Vince Lombardi trophy? And the answer to that question is no.
It has to be no. It has to be no. The other part about this too is, Moose, when's the last time you saw a wide receiver and you watch the games, right? Like you really, I know you pay attention, right? And everyone out there, guys, call in. We want to hear from you guys. But how many times are you seeing wide receivers make a move, not get the football, and then just walk away? Don't they normally throw their arms up? He starts pulling on his jersey, whatever, showing it, right? Juju did not do anything.
There was no reaction.
He did not think he was held. Listen, I'll do the same. Again, wash, rinse, repeat. I will say the same thing I said 2 weeks ago, Moose. Letter of the law, sure. He tugs his jersey a little bit. It's a penalty. Letter of the law. But do we really want letter of the law at 1 minute, 48 seconds left in the fourth quarter, when the Chiefs, by the way, were going to have a fourth down and kick a field goal to still go ahead? It wasn't like that was the end-all, be-all, end of the game on the Chiefs side. Like, is that how we want the Super Bowl to essentially end? It feels icky. For a better way to put it, I'm going to use a childish word. It felt icky.
Yeah, I thought it was awful. Yeah, icky. What? Okay, so you want to get to it and you want to look at it and say, well, the breakdown of it. Okay, that was a hold, but come on, can we have a little common sense here? Like, we're all sports fans. We really are. We're all We all love it. We're in it, whether you bet on the Chiefs, bet on the Eagles, whether you have a hard rooting interest one way or the other. We're all sports fans. You just want it to be decided, by the guys on the field. You don't want the officials to basically have an impact on the game. And that he did not. I've seen play, end of game scenarios, and I do think like the whole idea of, well, if it's a penalty in the first quarter, then it's a penalty in the fourth quarter. They called no penalties over the course of the game. They really didn't. I mean, honestly,
we're letting them play. Why change course with a minute 48 left?
No idea. Yeah, it makes no sense. It makes literally no sense whatsoever. Why you decide to call that at the end of the game and marred it to where you're not talking about Patrick Mahomes and. I've had enough of Travis Kelce saying, playing the, nobody picked us. I mean,
Nan picked us. Nan.
Yeah, you were one of the 6 teams that everyone talked about throughout the entire course of the season. Like enough with like, you have the best player in the National Football League. You have a Hall of Fame coach in Andy Reid. Like this was not David against Goliath. I mean, you were a 1.5 point underdog going into the game. It was the 2 best teams and the 2 number 1 seeds in the NFC and the AFC combating and going off in Super Bowl 57. From the penalty to the field, like going back and watching some of the game this morning a little bit, Keith, and seeing like Hassan Reddick slipping and sliding, who was an absolute speed rusher, and his feet going out from underneath him because the National Football League decided to use some new grass that they had developed, with the USGA to unveil in the Super Bowl last night, where the guys had no footing whatsoever on both teams. I mean, there was little to no, like it's utterly and completely embarrassing. I mean, it's like that. That's where you look at that. So put the field aside, though. You cannot make that call. Like, I mean, you just cannot. Make no bones about it. You at that stage of the game, you cannot decide the Super Bowl on a ticky-tack defensive holding call where the play had no possibilities of being completed, where Juju Smith-Schuster did not locate the ball in the air, and the ball was 7 yards overthrown. You cannot make that call.
And I would like to remind everybody, yes, I know I'm the Eagles fan here, but I think that everyone who has followed along in my career and all my teams and sports and stuff, that I've never been the guy that throws remote controls at televisions. I'm not losing sleep when my team loses. I'm not that guy.
Yeah, by the way, enough of the videos after games, Keith, I don't mean to interrupt.
Of them breaking TVs
Like, we passed it. Like,
I'm done.
You want to go destroy an $800,000 TV?
Whatever.
If your team lost. I mean, you're
an idiot if you're doing that.
Yeah, you're an idiot. I mean, enough of those videos. Yeah. I don't need to see any more of those videos on social media. It doesn't prove your fandom because you destroy things.
Yeah. It doesn't. By the way, so the penalty is the thing we're talking about. But we will talk over the next hour and 45 minutes about how the Eagles made no adjustments defensively. They didn't. And how the Chiefs just outcoached as simple as that, the Chiefs outcoached the Eagles. And those should have been things we're talking about today. Those should have, 14 minutes into the show, it shouldn't be the first time that we're really discussing that. Goodness, come on. Anyway, Better Boss wants to hop on with us.
Yeah, Sweet Lou. He couldn't locate the ball because his jersey was grabbed. No, he couldn't locate the ball because it's 8 yards over his head. I mean, come on, Lou.
You're better than that.
Put the fandom aside.
Yes.
Whether you hate the Eagles, you hate Sirianni, you can't stand. Put all that aside. Just look at that game and be like, is that the call you want to decide the Super Bowl?
Oh.
I mean, that's it. Is that what you want? To decide the biggest game after sitting through hours of pregame. I mean, they didn't kick the ball off till 6:45. I mean, do I need to see the unveiling of the Vince Lombardi trophy? We all understand what they're playing for. Kick the ball off already.
Yeah, everyone had to have a chance. Matt Deutsch is joining us right now. How many pull-ups do you think he could do on that beam behind him, Moose? What do you think?
None. Probably.
None? I got 3.5.
Good morning, guys. What's great
up?
Super Bowl, but I just had to call in. I'm right with you, Moose. I think we were robbed a classic game that had so many storylines, and one man really determined the game. The game was over at that point. I was praying that the Chiefs would score a touchdown and give the Eagles a chance at the end. Eagles well coached. They let the Chiefs get in. Chiefs better coach. Guy went down on the 1 yard line. People lost their squares. People lost their fantasy pools on McKinnon not scoring. And we could talk about all of that. but a terrible call. I didn't realize there were no holding calls the whole game. I knew on the way home, I said, I can't remember a lot of penalties in this game. Why are you calling this? But to have no defensive holding calls and to do it then, I'm with the guys. I feel like we were cheated. I'm no Eagle fan, but really disappointed. And the NFL is not scripted. That is dumb. But we just saw one man have the power to determine a game.
But it's interesting because, and I talked about this on Friday, and Moose, I think you remember this. I was walking back from the bus stop with the guy Mike down the street, and his comment to me was, and kudos to Mike, he said, if this game is close inside of like 2 or 3 minutes, the NFL will not let the Chiefs lose. Meaning that the referees were going to be leaning towards the Chiefs. And when you think about it, for the NFL, Chiefs winning, I think, was better. Mahomes cementing legacy, 2 Super Bowl wins. He's now on the trajectory to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. They're in the midst of a dynasty, winning 2 Super Bowls in the last 4 years, and there's no real sign of them slowing down. So from that standpoint thing, I guess the NFL probably wakes up happy today. And I guess no bad press and no press is all good press and blah, 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 blah.
Well, I'm used to guys being disappointed. Sorry, Eagles fans. Keith was right. I was on your team, and I took you down with me.
Yeah, you screwed
And
us
I'm
up.
used to being wrong. I thought the Eagles would dominate both lines of scrimmage. I thought the pass rush would hit Mahomes. I thought it would be a question of, is Mahomes going to get up next? I thought the Eagles would run it down their throat. This team made the San Francisco 49ers look like a peewee football team. They made the defensive player of the year, Nick Bosa, do absolutely nothing, and yet they can't run the ball on the Chiefs. I was shocked, but again, the penalty guys took all the steam out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, I the penalty killed the flow or the what you thought about that game afterward, to where it left such a bad taste in your mouth. It really did.
Wow, all those people with the squares and the playoffs, and
I love how you always come back to that, by the way. I love that.
Yeah. Well, we won.
I lost one of my pools because in our house we do the sheets and stuff like that, with like a whole bunch of props on it, and it was me versus my buddy Mike, and we were the last 2 left. Basically, he had the Chiefs winning, I had the Eagles winning, so he got the extra 3 points for that. He wins the pot at my house.
Oh,
we had lots of people losing big money at our parties with that touchdown that didn't get scored. We took home the squares with the field goal, so we'll take that. And certainly, Starving Entrepreneur needs it. So thrilled, everybody, for having a great Super Bowl. I hope you have a great show today. I want to let some other people call in. Baby J, let's get you in here. I want to hear what you think of this game.
All right, there he is.
See you, boys.
Better boss. Later.
You
don't think he can do 3.5 pull-ups on that?
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. Yeah, is Deutsch a pull-up guy? I think he runs, right? I think he goes running.
Oh, man.
Although he's, built this up, so I don't know. He's probably not running. He's just, he's in the studio all the time.
Yeah, and listen, interesting stuff in the chat. No, I don't want penalties the entire game. I want the officials to get the hell out of the way. I really do. There's blame that goes all the way around, and we're going to play some comments from, the coaches and the players after the game. But, I don't understand how in that spot you make that call and you rob everyone of what could have been a historically great Super Bowl.
Let me ask you a question.
Ball in the hands of Jalen Hurts, who threw for over 300 yards, had 3 rushing touchdowns, had a passing touchdown, had a 2-point conversion, overcame the gaffe of the lost fumble. I mean, the Eagles are going to look back on it. It's going to be a long off season because, they could have been leading that game at the half 31-7. That's how dominant they were in the first half. They could have been up by 24 points and, really had the hammer on the Kansas City Chiefs. And, they gave them an opportunity. They were just down 10. Chiefs got the ball to start the second half. Chiefs made adjustments in the second half. Philadelphia couldn't. The pass rush was non-existent. And once that pass rush was non-existent, you saw some clear, glaring issues when you look at the defensive coverage and the communication in that Eagles secondary.
Well, you can't give Mahomes time in the pocket. That's asking. It's a remedy or whatever you want to call it. That is asking for issues. Let me ask you this question. I know we got some callers that want to hop in. We'll get you guys in just a second. Moose, what would you say to the person who would respond to you when you say you can't make the call at that point in the game where, because I've seen people also say this, a penalty is a penalty is a penalty, because we saw LeBron James get fouled by Jason Tatum and lose his bleep because he didn't get the call, right? We all wanted the penalty there. So what's the difference here? I'm not saying I disagree with you, by the way. I'm just wondering what you would say to that person.
Because I'll be honest with you, I don't think all penalties are one and the same. Because I do think timing does, impact things. I don't think I'm not going to look at a penalty. And I had somebody on social media say, well, look at the penalty calls throughout the course of the game. They're pretty even. The refs did a good job. No, that's not true. That's not how you look at it, how a game's being officiated. That really isn't. I mean, you can view it however the hell way you want to, but you cannot look at a game last night in that kind of a matchup and say, because you could go back and look at, the Chiefs holding Philadelphia receivers and Eagle defensive backs holding Chief receivers and could have made those calls. I don't think in the fourth quarter, I think there's got to be some common sense. I think you got to realize game, situation, and have an understanding and say, okay, listen, if he tackled the player, yeah, then you're going to call it.
Or even if his jersey got ripped out of his pants, it was barely even it was like here.
That was so ticky-tack. And you have to sit there and be like, okay, well, am I going to throw that penalty for that, where the ball has no chance of being completed, and just give the Kansas City Chiefs the Vince Lombardi trophy and not give the Philadelphia Eagles an opportunity to respond? That's what you got to ask yourself. Is that penalty that you saw, or the hold last night that you saw on Juju Smith-Schuster by James Bradbury, so egregious that the Philadelphia Eagles did not deserve a chance to respond? And I don't think it was. Listen, from this day to my last day on God's green earth, I'll never look at that as being the right call. I really won't be. I don't care what Bradbury has to say, Sirianni.
No.
The game was classy. I don't care if the head of officiating, Mike Pereira on Fox, I really don't care. You cannot make that call. You really can't. I mean, I'm having an impossible time of figuring out and distinguishing exactly what a catch is and what a catch isn't when you look at the end of the first half and the catch by Devontae Smith, where I thought he had it and then goes to the ground, but he never lost control of the football. I mean, you get to these scenarios and you're looking at things and you're saying to yourself, like, did the ball oscillate? I just hate that call in that time, just like I hated the call in the AFC Championship game, which put Harrison Butker into field goal range and sent the Chiefs to the Super Bowl. I hated that call. I hate that call last night just as much.
Even the Miles Sanders fumble, scoop, and score, by the way. All right, if we're all being honest, he caught the football. But in my house, again, I told you, I had a bunch of Giants fans, and everyone thought it was going to be a fumble, scoop, and score. And I immediately said, it's not going to be a catch. If you've been watching the NFL all year long, that has not been a catch all year long. And really last year wasn't a catch either. They really want the whole complete the catch, make a football move, sign an autograph, eat a hot dog. Like, you have to do all these things for the catch to count. I was shocked that they didn't overturn the Dallas Goedert catch off the helmet. But when you saw one angle, you could see that these two fingers were still on the football as he was going down. So that made it complete. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't get it sometimes. I'm disappointed in a lot of yesterday. And I know we're going to talk about the good stuff too. Better Boss writes, it's never a catch. No, it can be a catch. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Bring in our guy, Baby J. What up, man?
Hello? What's going on, gentlemen? You hear me?
We hear you. What's
going on? When the boss calls you out, I guess you got to call, right?
I mean, when Deutsch says, Baby J, we want to hear from you. Like, if you don't, I think you get blocked from the network. I think that's what happened.
I said, well, let me call in right now. I don't want to get blocked. Listen, I agree with Moose, right? To an extent. So, yes, you don't want the game being called like that. That last flag probably shouldn't have got thrown. But let's also say this. That's not the reason why the Eagles lost the game. They couldn't stop a nosebleed, in the words of Bart Scott, in the second half. The Chiefs did everything and anything they wanted to do in that second half. So, yes, it sucked that it came down to that last, piece of. But the Eagles got to look at themselves in the mirror and say, we put ourselves in that position. We were getting manhandled in that second half.
Yeah.
So I think that's, and when you look at it in the big picture, that's the reason why they lost. They couldn't run the ball. Thanks a lot, Miles Sanders. Thank you very much. blew my parlay. I just needed him to get 40 yards rushing. Hit everything else. I just needed 40 yards rushing from Miles Sanders. But yeah, man, listen, it was a great Super Bowl. We're gonna, after we get over the emotional attachment of that last play or the last call on the field, we're gonna look back and say that was a great Super Bowl. Great Super Bowl. And Keith, I know you're an Eagle fan, bro. You shouldn't even feel sad today. Your team is good, man.
Yeah.
Your team, they're on their way.
Yeah.
Hopefully Jalen Hurts doesn't break the bank and ask for the 50 mil, then that'll hurt them. But
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe Jay,
they're there.
it's hard to get back there. I mean, we're gonna go to future Super Bowl odds. It's hard to get back there. It just is.
I agree. But let's look at the whole landscape. Let's look at the whole landscape of the NFC. How many really good teams are in the NFC? Even if
Niners
there's
scare
not many.
Niners scare me if they figure out their quarterback situation. Niners scare me.
That's what I was saying. You have San Fran and you have the Eagles. Who else? Who else right now can we say, even if they add a running back, a wide receiver, or a quarterback, besides San Fran, you can say they have a shot right now?
I mean,
Dallas? No.
Hard to argue with you on that one. Like going into next season in the NFC, the Lions maybe, don't they have a bunch of picks? But am I really banking on Jared Goff? I think you're right.
Exactly. This is what I feel about the Lions. The Lions are the Jets. Until you do it, we believe it.
Yeah, but the Eagles are also one. I mean, and to Moose's point about getting back, and then I'll let Moose hop in here, is you're one injury away, right? Like you could make the argument, I know Jay Cabassa would, you could make an argument that the Niners were maybe the best team in the NFC.
Agree.
And then,
Agree.
like in the NFC Championship game, I don't know if you guys saw this, but I actually played quarterback in the third quarter.
Yeah,
I
saw you out there.
Yeah, I struggled a little bit. I apologize to all my Niners fans. I struggled a little bit. All right, Moose, hop in there. Sorry. I know you're trying to get in.
I guess. I mean, the Eagles aren't going anywhere. I totally disagree with what Jerry Jones had to say toward the tail end of last week. The Cowboys owner made little to no sense and got called out by Jimmy Johnson and others for it, where he pointed and said the Eagles are similar to the Rams, that they went all in for it this year. The Eagles aren't going anywhere.
Yeah. Jerry Jones makes no sense.
I don't disagree with that.
Sour grapes there?
Yeah, little sour grapes.
It's hard when you look at it and say, well, because a lot of things, a lot of things need to go right for you to get there. Listen, the Eagles at one point in time were undefeated. They almost got on track because their quarterback suffered a sprained right shoulder. It took him a while to heal. And last night, Jalen Hurts looked like he was all the way back. Jalen Hurts was throwing dimes all over the place. The Eagles, what was surprising to me last night about that game is, and I don't know, maybe the turf played a massive role in it. The Eagles had no pass rush.
None.
The Eagles could not consistently run the football. Some things that were staples of Philadelphia the entire year, they couldn't do it. I think Gannon got out-coached, the defensive coordinator. There were no adjustments when Andy Reid did. And you saw, I thought somebody put it really well last night. You saw, and I quote him or her if I remember who it was, you saw the worst or everything that you were concerned about the Eagles defensively in the second half came to light.
Yep. So that could be another reason, right? I know we keep going back to the play, but experience matters in these situations. And Andy Reid outcoached the young guy. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So it showed all these things. It all played a part. We say it all the time. One play doesn't make the game. It's everything that leads up to that point. Listen, I thought the game was over at halftime when Pat Mahomes was limping off the field. I said, oh, man, this game is over. And then the guy came back with a Superman cape on and guys flying around the field like, man, this kid is awesome, bro.
So I will never bet against Mahomes in that situation. And the way I was texting Moose this, I was talking to people in my house about this too. I don't want to be a jerk here, but I think Mahomes was playing up a little bit the injury. Like, he seemed to be perfectly fine, and then got it tweaked a little bit, limping around, grimacing. He got his Michael Jordan moment. That was his flu game.
That's a good call. I ain't mad at him for doing it.
His Jordan hat was actually sick.
Yeah.
Well,
it was allegedly. Allegedly, right? Now, right?
That's right.
Allegedly. And before I go, I let you guys down on Friday. I meant to tell you guys about a 3-leg parlay for the UFC. and it hit, and I let all you guys down. So I want to apologize for that.
Oh,
Yeah, you know, actually, you owe us a lap. That's a good point. Yeah, take a lap. Take a lap.
My bad. Next UFC, I promise I'll call you guys with my parlay. I've been watching UFC since its existence. Since
Are you
day
a
one.
UFC insider now?
Bro, I love you. Have no idea. I have my kids go into jiu-jitsu because of UFC, man. It's
All right.
Yeah.
By the way, Wally says you owe the group 6 laps because you missed. It's a 3-leg parlay, so 2 laps for each leg that you screwed us.
Tell Wally to spell 6 laps.
There you go. Okay.
I love our group.
You guys are the best, man. I'll talk to you guys later, man.
Tell him to spell 6 laps.
That's
Hey, Wally did it. 6.
You did
we have such a good community here. This is great. We have a lot of good people writing in. I like that our chat is blowing up a little bit. Some differing points and opinions here. These were some laughs I needed this morning. This was good. I like this. This is good.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was. I mean, listen, everyone's, and I think it's been a long NFL season. We got, for the most part, what was an unbelievable second half, fourth quarter. A lot more to break down when you look at the game. We could talk about Riri and Rihanna at halftime as well, which I thought was okay.
It was Mac Jones.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, It was okay. I was surprised nobody came out. Like, there was no collab. There was no...
Because she don't need no collabs.
No, but usually that's the case. Usually you see somebody popping out. I don't know. It was all right.
She also got ripped on social media for playing songs that were produced and written by Kanye, right? Because Kanye is someone you're not supposed to be affiliated with right now. So she got ripped for that. A lot of people thought that Eminem might have been coming out. He did not. Yeah.
Nobody came out. No, it was I don't know.
It was fine. It was fine.
It was all
She's
right.
talented.
It went on way too long. I mean, the pregame was ungodly long. I mean, it was just it was, and then you finally get to the game, and then unfortunately at the end of the game you get what I think is a call that does not need to be made given the timing, and that's what everybody's talking about afterward. But we'll get into Mahomes and Reed and what they accomplished.
Yeah, we got to spin it. We do still have to obviously give you all the good. I mean, the game was amazing, and a great team won, and a dynasty is forming.
Yeah.
So
yeah. By the way, can Jackson Mahomes go away?
Yeah.
I mean,
did you see him dancing behind Patrick Mahomes when Mahomes was doing that interview?
Yeah, that's my point. Like, but you're. I mean, what do you do in life?
Can I tell you that I was told he's actually a really cool guy, fun to hang around.
That's great. I understand that. That's fantastic. I'm not telling you he's a bad guy. I don't know Jackson Mahomes from a hole in the wall. I'm just asking him, can he go away?
But you know him now because of his antics. So he's made himself famous.
Yeah, I don't need the TikTok videos. I don't need him doing the dancing and this and that. I mean, like it gets to a point where it's like, all right, enough. Like, your brother just won his second Super Bowl. He's the MVP of the league. Just won the second, the MVP of the Super Bowl, and he's dancing like a clown behind him.
I'm gonna start doing that the next time you start making the next time. Here's what we're gonna do, Moose. Yeah, the next time you're in the middle of a rant and you're crushing it, like a good one, right? I'm gonna start doing some TikTok stuff behind you, like right here.
Like, it's just so annoying. Like, it's like. I'm sure he's a great guy. Never said he was a bad guy. Can you just go away? Yeah, like, it's enough. Like, enough. Like, you're not part of the team. You didn't win. You weren't on the field. There was no blood, sweat, and tears. They did none of it. Yet you're like celebrating. Like, I think it gets to a point. Like, God, it was so infuriating. Like, I had a hard time going to sleep last night. I really did. From the ending of that game, to the Giant fans spiking the football because the Eagles lost, to my son being upset. Like,
poor Jackson.
I just like, look, thank God the Philadelphia. Then the Eagle fan can, saying that we're cursed as a franchise. All the stuff that we get last night, and then you got Roger Goodell telling me during the course of the week the officiating's never been better.
They need full-time refs.
Oh, no doubt they need full-time refs. I need common sense.
Yeah.
Common sense. Can we have a little
God.
common sense? I'm not going to call defensive holding the entire game. I'm going to call it with 1:41 to go. Game tied at 35 on a 3rd and 8 that's got no chance of being completed. That's when I'm going to pull the flag and call defensive holding.
Woosa. All right, Moose. Let's actually take a break. We'll step aside. When we get back, we got sound from this game. We're gonna break down this game from a Chiefs standpoint, what this means legacy-wise for Mahomes and Reed and all that. And guys, you're in the chat. Hop on the phones. Let's hear from you guys. Jacob Bassa, I'm sure, is a Niners fan. You're ecstatic that the Eagles did not win. He is Moose. I am Keith. It's Moose and Keith. It's Better Sports Network.
Better Sports Network is sponsored by Lucra.
Now being joined by Dylan Robbins, the CEO of Lucra.
Lucra is a unique new platform, but it really has a basis and a very simple idea is that we think that people want to bet with their friends, right? Our product is built off the fact that the casual fan is at the bar or at their buddy's house and they're putting $5 on the game and they're doing it on Venmo. And I think that there's a huge opportunity to open the market up to all these casual fans. A lot of people who feel boxed out by the traditional sports books because they're too complicated or there's complex jargon. They don't understand the lines or the spreads. And so Lucra's goal is to just make it simple. And our favorite way of doing that is we just connect you directly with your friends. So it's a social platform. It's peer-to-peer. We're not the house. We don't take any risk on these wagers. We just are a marketplace to kind of connect you with your friends directly to engage. So it started as just a business for sports. We've expanded outside of sports now. We offer 150 recreational games from cornhole to beer pong to darts to Wordle to Peloton, you name it. You can challenge your friends now on Lucra. And you've got all the gaming and tracking and stats and leaderboards to go with it to make it fun. So it's a bit about what we do, and excited to chat with you guys about it today.
What's the future growth of Lucra?
Good question. I think for us, it's really the expansion outside of sports. I think that we've proven that sports is a great model. We've got a ton of great customers who love our sports product, but we're really paving the way or really innovating on this recreational game side of our business as we think about all these unique categories and areas where people are competing. Spike ball, pickleball, all these things that are blowing up across the globe right now. Lucra is the first real way where people can bet with their friends on these games. And so we're getting a lot of new customers from that, a lot of brand awareness from that. And I think we're just trying to iterate that product, make it more fun, make it easier. But we're going to keep our ethos the same, casual, social, and fun. That's what Lucra's about. Our average contest is $10. This is not about bankrupting your friends. It's not about winning big and paying your rent. It's about the magic of the moment and making that moment better by having $5 on the line. If you ever played a round of golf on Sunday or watched a football game, you guys get it. You put a few bucks on it. It just changes the way you interact with that game. You watch it longer. You spend more money there. And it gives us a lot of time for us to, a lot of opportunity for us to partner with other brands because of that.
Better Sports Network is sponsored by Lucra. Winning is fun, and beating your friends is even better. Download the Lucra app today to challenge your friends and win money.
When your brain goes numb, you can call that mental freeze.
Moose and Keith on Better Sports Network.
By the way, we've got to give a shout out. I thought both Burkhardt and Olsen calling their first Super Bowl did a really nice job.
Awesome job.
Yeah, I thought Olsen was fantastic. Like we've talked about before, I do think he's the best analyst in the business. I think Fox is going to have an intriguing decision to make in 2024 when Tom Brady decides to enter the broadcasting booth, as he mentioned to Colin Cowherd. What was it, last week, I believe it was, or maybe the week previous, that he's going to take a year off and kind of work on his craft and before he hops into the broadcast booth, which I think makes sense. But they got a special one at Olsen, and I thought he was fair and honest at the end of the game, even pushing back to Mike Pereira, who called it and said, and they even went back to it on that play call and the flag at the end of the game and didn't just bury it. So I thought I give Olsen a massive round of applause, and Kevin as well. They did a really good job calling their first Super Bowl, which is a very, very difficult thing to do with a lot of pressure on you. I thought both of them did a wonderful job.
Did you work with Burkhardt when he was doing that fan stuff? You did, right?
Sorry, I was taking a sip of coffee.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Kevin. Kevin's a friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
I wouldn't necessarily say he's a I wouldn't say he's a friend of mine. Like I can't text him, but I actually was his statistician for early on in my career for like local games. He did like when it was Metro Sports Channel, like Channel 60 or whatever that was. Some Rutgers games, some high school games. Like I did his stats work a bunch, and we talked through social media.
Yeah, I saw. I mean, when Kevin was first at the Fan, and then when he was at SNY, I knew, I was friends with Kevin. We went on Super Bowl trips together. He covered a team down in Miami. I think that was the Colts Bears Super Bowl out in Detroit, which was the Seahawks and Steelers Super Bowl. That was another poorly officiated game that Seattle still complains about to this day. But I think he's great and has done a wonderful, stepping into a tough spot, replacing what is a legendary broadcaster in Joe Buck, who went on over to ESPN.
Yeah. By the way, side note, Fox, love the Derek Jeter hire. I think that's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean
I think he's gonna do good. I think he's gonna be good at that job.
Yeah, I think it's great. There was some talk and conversation locally that he might join the Yes broadcast with the Yankees, and obviously he steps up and is going to be part of the Fox broadcast team. Yeah, Derek's great. I mean, I think Derek is successful in a lot of things in life, and I think for him to call baseball, the interesting thing, like when you look at it, is that. And the difference between A-Rod and Jeter, from those that were in the know, that when you go to Yankee Stadium, is Jeter was one of those guys at the time when he was playing, and maybe it's different now that his playing career is over, was that when the game was done, he went home and wasn't like watching around the league. Like A-Rod was one that was watching the West Coast baseball. Was watching a lot of games, like knew a lot of things that were going on around the league. Jeter was one of those guys that went out, did his job, loved the sport of baseball, but wasn't locked into everything that was going on around the league. So it's interesting now to see him going into the broadcast booth, not saying that he can't analyze or break down a game or, get himself caught up on what is going on and around Major League Baseball, but it was never like, the sport of baseball was never one where he was locked in on a day in, day out basis when he was a player. Maybe that's changed in retirement. That was one of the differentiations between Alex Rodriguez and Derek Jeter. A-Rod watched everything.
Who's going to be better, Jeter or Brady as a broadcaster?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a great poll question.
Is it the wrong day to do a poll for that? Because we could hold off on that and have this conversation later, right?
Why don't we do that another day?
All right, let's put a pin in that one. Maybe we'll discuss that a little bit later.
I like that one though.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I think because I think I can find reasons for both sides as to why they could be better.
Yeah, it's a good one. That's a good one.
All right, James Bradbury. He was the guy that obviously much maligned. He's got the holding call. Let's hear from Bradbury after the game on what he thought about it.
I mean, that's not up for my judgment. I was hoping he would let it go, but of course, he's a ref. It's a big game, and it was a hold, so they called it.
Yeah, I mean,
short and sweet. It was a hold. I mean, it was. He tugged. It was just stupid timing.
Yeah. How about Sirianni? Let's hear from the Eagles head coach. Here's Sirianni on the penalty at the end of the game.
I'm not. It's not my job to. You'll see me on the sideline. I'm going to argue with different things of calls here and there, but it's not my job to make the call. Those guys got to do that in split second, scenarios. And so, that's what he saw and he called it. And so that's never it. I know it always appears to be that, it's one call that makes the game. It's not what it is, right? It's not what it is. There's so many plays that contribute to the end result of the game. And today they were better than we were.
Sirianni nailed it there, by the way. He really did. Like that penalty is not the reason, God bless, is not the reason the Eagles lost. The Eagles lost because they were outplayed and outcoached in the second half. Like, stamp it. That should be the storyline today.
Right.
But the penalty is just something it felt so egregious. And again, the word I use, icky, that it mars what the Chiefs did in the second half and changes things. I mean, it really, really does. But I think if you're a Nick Sirianni hater, and I saw people bashing him for crying during the national anthem, whatever, get over yourself. Men are allowed to cry. It's okay. He can be emotional because he reached the pinnacle of his career and he's got some tears coming down his eyes because he knows he's about to, embark on 60 minutes of hopefully greatness for not just him, but for the organization that he's leading. Like, get over yourself for making fun of this guy for crying during the anthem. That being said, if you hated Nick Sirianni coming to this, I think you come away and you have to at least be like, all right, he's not as bad as I thought he was.
Yeah, I think Sirianni is just true to himself. I think if you're an Eagle fan, you love him. I think he's a guy that if you root for an opposing team, he bothers you. But I don't understand why. I mean, I really don't. We have, you have the players, of all professional sports showing their personality more and more. What do you want the head coach to go out there and do? Not show their personality? So Sirianni's showing his personality. And he's enjoying himself, and his players respond for it. It was not a good second half for Sirianni and the Eagle coaching staff. It just wasn't. The lack of adjustments that you saw after the adjustment by Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. And I thought there were a couple of key pivotal plays. Obviously, everyone's going to look back at the Bolton scoop and score.
Yep.
I also thought late third quarter, the Eagles couldn't settle for a field goal there. They needed to go for it and not go for it. They needed to score a touchdown to go up 10 because the way that game was going, they had to remain, 2 scores up and remain with that working margin against the Kansas City Chiefs. But they end up settling for the field goal. Chiefs march down the field, get the game-tying touchdown, then a 3-and-out, and the big punt return puts them up 8. Then you get the Hurts drive and the big pass to Devontae Smith and the 2-point conversion. We're tied at 35, and then we get to the last. And I think the Kansas City Chiefs understood that they could not give the ball back to Philadelphia either because they were running their, quote-unquote 4 or 5 minute offense there to try and get into field goal range and have Butker decide whether or not that game goes to overtime or whether they win at the end of regulation.
The play calls, too, whether it's Reed or Bieniemy, whomever is doing it, the Kadarius Toney touchdown, absolute blunder by the Eagles. But again, it's the Chiefs being able to play the Eagles. They knew the Eagles would bite on something inside. Boom, Toney's by himself. How do you, as the Eagles, allow it to happen again to Sky Moore just a few minutes later to the other side of the field? Like, you can't let that happen.
No, you can't.
Bad coaching. Jessica Brand writes in here, the only other team to allow a score in Super Bowl history in every second half drive was the 2017 Patriots. Sweet Lou writes about Sirianni. He is good for the game. I agree with you on that one, Sweet Lou. I mean, I like Sirianni, and it's not because I'm an Eagles fan. I think that Sirianni wears his heart on his sleeve, and I like a coach that does that. And as for the Chiefs, they were just dominant in the second half. They did everything.
How about Jalen Hurts? I mean, Jalen Hurts had himself an unbelievable year. He was going to be the MVP of the league before he hurt his shoulder against the Chicago Bears. And he played an unbelievable football game last night. And I think learned a lot about Jalen Hurts. After the scoop and score touchdown, Eagles get the ball right back and march right down the field and take a 21-14 lead. Here's Jalen Hurts after the game and after a tough loss.
You either win or you learn. That's how I feel. You either win or you learn. So, as always, win, lose, or draw, I always reflect on the things that I could have done better, things we could have done better, to try and take that next step, and that'll be the same process that goes on now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's unbelievable leader, unbelievable human being. Nothing not to like about Jalen Hurts, and you saw a massive improve of his game year 2 this year as a starting quarterback. I would not be surprised if there's even a significantly better version of Jalen Hurts after this kind of a loss, knowing the work ethic that he has this offseason going into 2023 in the regular season. How about Patrick Mahomes, MVP of the league in the regular season, MVP of Super Bowl 57, was fantastic in the second half, throwing darts all over the place. Here's Patrick Mahomes on his head coach, Andy Reid.
Yeah, it's because I think, I mean, I don't want to talk about all coaches, but he's the best coach I've ever had about how he connects with players from everywhere. And I think you heard Frank Clark talk about it during the media week that we did, is no matter where you're from, he can connect with you. And you can tell he cares about you as a man as much as he does about a player. And so if there's something that's going on in your life, he's going to ask you about it. He's not going to worry about how you're practicing or hey, he needs you to be better here and here. He's going to ask you what's going on. He's going to get that info from you, and he's going to do whatever he can to help. And I think that's been the biggest thing. That's why every player that leaves Coach Reid talks so highly of him, because it's not about, I mean, obviously he wants to win football games and be great, but he cares about the men that step in that locker room and how he make them better whenever they leave it. Okay, thanks.
Moose, there is something to be said about players wanting to win, not just for themselves, but for the coaches that are coaching them. I think chemistry is crucial for all of these teams in every sport, by the way. I love hearing that about Andy Reid. I'm a big Andy Reid guy. Obviously, he was the Eagles coach, and I loved watching him as an Eagles coach. I root for him when he's with Kansas City. That's the problem with today, too, right? Like, I think there were a lot of people out there, and I had Nick Durst and Joe Calabrese texting me last night about this game, and they were like sort of poking fun at me being an Eagles fan and the Eagles losing. Like, I think people were hoping that, Keith Irizarry is going to go crazy. He's an Eagles fan. He's going to be so mad. Like I say this all the time. There are other teams that are likable. The Chiefs are crazy likable. Patrick Mahomes is generationally great. I know Travis Kelce can irk some people, but he's so stinking awesome at football. There are a lot of players on that team that are really easy to root for, and I love me some Andy Reid and love me some Eric Bieniemy. Like, if you're going to lose and you lose to the Chiefs, listen, I don't think they lost to a team that was worse than them. It wasn't like, like there are times, Moose, where you lose to a team, you're like, oh, God, why did we not beat that team? Or why did they not beat that team? No, the Chiefs are a great team. They earned that victory. It's just a shame about the penalty.
Yeah, it is. And it was a great hug, emotional hug between Reid and Bieniemy after the game as well. By the way, what was the Gatorade color?
I didn't see it. They missed it on TV, and I never looked it up because I didn't bet on that. So
no, neither did I. I was just curious.
Does anybody know what the Gatorade color was?
Yeah, I don't know. How about Travis Kelce? A big story, obviously, was the Kelce brothers. It was purple. There you go. Okay, I did not know that.
Well, it is.
A lot of people were talking about the Kelce brothers. Obviously, two brothers, first-time Super Bowl history. Travis, the future Hall of Famer, and the tight end for Kansas City, Jason, the great, the All-Pro center for the Philadelphia Eagles. Here's Travis Kelce on beating his brother.
I lied to everybody and told everybody I wanted to have this feeling of being my brother, man, but it's a pretty sick feeling. It's a lot of emotion. It's a lot of passion. He said it the other day. It's one thing for you to win one, but it's another thing to see your best friend, your family, the ones you love, to go out there and win it. And I feel for the big guy. He had an unbelievable season, and he poured his heart out there. That's for damn sure. But
yeah, I mean that's it. I mean that's what it's great. Like I tell my sons all the time, and you could feel it. You could feel it where you saw the embrace from their mother to both Jason and Travis after the game. It's emotional, and we could joke around, and the guys are very well paid and they've got a lot of money, but you're laying your body on the line, the physical toll that it takes, but just the connection that you have. I tell my sons all the time, like your brothers are going to be there, throughout your lives. They're going to be your best friend. No matter what, they're always going to be there for you through thick and thin, good times, great times, celebratory, and tough times as well. You want to make sure you have a relationship with your brothers that they're, they're going to be your best friends no matter what. And you can tell that that's the relationship that Travis and Jason have, which is great. As a father of three sons, you have two sons, that's, you and I, we're not going to be around forever, and everything. And they're going to obviously outlive us. And what you want to have is that they're there for each other no matter what. And you can tell that that's the relationship that Travis and Jason do have, because I would imagine, as excited as he was that his team won the Super Bowl, I'm sure he felt, and you could tell right there, for his brother losing the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and you heard Jason actually talk about it as well, like, hard to lose, blah, blah, blah. He got into the whole stuff, and he goes, I feel really good for my brother Trav, is what he said, right? And, as family, obviously you've got your emotions towards it, but also Travis and Jason both know exactly what the other one goes through to be the best of the best, right? You know, I would imagine that it would be different if you weren't both professional athletes, right? So you don't necessarily understand the grind. Like if Jason
Mahomes,
yeah, fine, let's do that. Yes, if you were Jackson Mahomes, right, and Patrick loses, you feel bad for your brother, right? But I don't know if you fully understand the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into what Patrick was fighting for, right? Whereas like Travis wins, Jason loses. Travis, while he's ecstatic and he's gonna the parade, he'll be, you gotta fight for your right. Like he'll do all and he'll have the wrestling stuff and he'll do all that stuff, right? But in the back of his mind, he understands what Jason has been putting, you know, all the hard work that goes in behind the scenes. So that's even different than anything else. And it's funny that you mentioned about your sons. I do the same thing. Like it's probably one of the only things that annoys me, like legitimately, is when either of my sons is mean to each other. Like they're going to poke fun at each other and they're going to fight and they're going to push each other. Like I get it. That's what brothers and siblings do. Like whatever, right? But at any point when they're like actually mean to each other, that's the only thing that legitimately bothers me. If one of them says something to the other one where you're like, you didn't have to say that. Like stop being a jerk. That bothers me. That's it.
Yeah, like I got up before I came down here and set up for the show. Gregory, our youngest, hopped on the computer, and it's amazing how like computer savvy he is already.
Yeah, like the 6-year-old can do all that stuff, right? Yeah.
Right. He's watching he's watching the Chief highlights from Super Bowl 57 because he was rooting for Kansas City because he's a Giant fan and was rooting against the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was poking fun at Jackson. I was like, what are you doing? Like, just like, please stop. Please stop. And he's like, what? I was rooting for the Chiefs. I go, I know, it's too soon. Like,
good job by you. Too soon.
Yeah, it's too soon. You can't do that. And then Jackson's asking me questions. Do you think the Eagles can get back there? Will they ever play in another Super Bowl? I'm like, yeah, they're going to get back. Don't worry. You've got an unbelievable quarterback in Jalen Hurts. How about Andy Reid? Because there was
hold on 1 second. I just want to answer something for the chat really fast before we move to the next one. Baby J, that movie Warrior was legit. Tom Hardy was amazing like absolutely amazing. Yeah, love that movie.
Yeah, there is when he's in the gym, the scene in Warrior, where he goes, I'll warm up your fighter for a little bit if you've got nobody else, and the guy's calling him Rock, hey Rock, and this and that, and he kicks his rear end and knocks.
I gotta watch that movie again now.
Dude, I've gone back. I watched that scene like 3 or 4 times. Like that is a great scene. And then the relationship or the one that he doesn't have with his dad. And then in the end, like was it Nick Nolte, right? Is his father, who's a recovering alcoholic. They have that scene in the casino where he throws the quarters at him, and then his dad goes out and regresses and has a setback and goes out drinking, comes back to the room drunk, and then he's holding him in bed. Like it's just it's a Warrior's a great movie.
Can I throw one more out of you, and I'm just throwing the whole show off and leave a loop? Young Guns. Remember the movie Young Guns?
Yeah, love.
Did you watch Young Guns 1 and 2?
Yes.
I just read, by the way, that they're filming Young Guns 3.
No, they're not.
Yep, and I just double checked it right now because I had read it on social media. Yep, they're filming Young Guns 3, and apparently Christian Slater, Emilio Estevez, and Lou Diamond Phillips will all be in it.
What about Charlie Sheen?
His name is no. He
he
got killed. Yeah, he got shot. Remember? Yeah.
So Emilio Estevez.
It says Christian Slater, Emilio Estevez, and Lou Diamond Phillips will all be in it.
That just made my day.
Young Guns 3, Alias, Billy the Kid. The plot is under wraps right now. They're not releasing it. It's in pre-production. And Emilio Estevez is directing it. He also wrote it. And it just gives the plot synopsis of the previous ones. Yeah, this is supposed to be potentially released at some point in 2024. Is that right? Yeah, I want to go back and watch both Young Guns. I just saw that they're streaming, so you can find them both. I want to watch them again to see if I can watch them with my kids. I don't remember how much was bad in there. I mean, there was a brothel. I remember that.
There's a brothel. There's some tough language in those movies too.
I think I can get through that with like Austin for 12 years old, like whatever. I mean, he's
I know. I don't know.
Alex, I don't know if I could do that with.
Yeah, but Young Guns is great. How about Andy Reid? You
Go
saw the
ahead,
report by Jake Glazer yesterday on Fox that Reid was contemplating or thinking about, potentially retirement, getting up there in age. Here's Andy Reid about his future and winning his second Super Bowl with Kansas City.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I look in the mirror and I'm old. My heart, though, is young. I mean, I still enjoy doing what I'm doing. I got asked that 50 times here. And finally, I just go, whatever, man, whatever. And that's a good friend. Jay Glazer's a good friend. So, I mean, he's probably telling me to get my tail out. I'm too old, but I'm good with what I'm doing right now. So
I wouldn't hang it up.
Why would you leave Patrick Mahomes?
No.
Why would you hand off a generational player, an immortal, iconic player, and go off into retirement and not coach in the National Football League? By the way, does Terry Bradshaw after the game excuse me, does Terry Bradshaw after the game need to tell the coach to waddle on over here and talk about him eating a cheeseburger?
I mean, I guess the cheeseburger, the waddle I didn't love. I mean, I guess maybe that's because of the walrus, but the cheeseburger thing is because that's legendary, isn't it?
No, I get that, but like, why are you bringing up his okay, his girth, his weight? Like, people are calling it out. Like, it was such a, like, it was one of those comments where it like hurt the ears when you heard it. Like, hey, coach, why don't you waddle on over here? Like, it's so.
I think he was trying to be clever and funny,
stupid.
But yeah,
it's so dopey. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, and I like Bradshaw. I think I do. I know, I think he's kind of like the, you never know exactly what he's going to say. That one bothered me a little bit, but I mean, is it that big of a deal? Probably not. But I just didn't love Bradshaw saying that to the head coach.
What does this do for legacy? Waddle on over it. Can you imagine if imagine if any of us said that to,
we get fired. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just crazy. What does this do for the legacy of Mahomes and Reid?
Yeah, I think, because those are Kelsey too, but I think we already know that Kelsey is either one of the 2 or 3 greatest tight ends that has ever done it. Will be Hall of Famer. Yeah, I think Kelsey's the best. Yes, I'm with you.
I think he's the greatest. I mean, I don't think he's a great all-around tight end. Like, I think he's the greatest receiving tight end the National Football League has ever seen. I think he's an okay blocker.
Yeah, he's good enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I think George Kittle is by far, if you want to look at compare the all-around game, I think Kittle as an inline blocker is significantly better than Travis Kelce. But I also think Travis Kelce as a receiver is significantly better than George Kittle. And he's in an offense that makes great use of his assets as a receiver. He also has a great connection with Patrick Mahomes of how to get open on some of those plays that get extended and where he needs to be on the field. He's got a great pair of hands. He's willing to take contact. There's a lot to like about Travis Kelce. He's an unbelievable football player. And I think if you look at everything that he's accomplished in the NFL, I think when he retires, he'll go down as the greatest tight end the sport has ever seen.
Yeah, I think so. Jessica, you're talking about the shirt. Here we go. Hofstra Pride men's basketball. Look at the bottom. 2020 NCAA co-champs, because there was no March Madness that year. It got canceled for the pandemic. And you can't tell me that they weren't a co-champ. They were in the March Madness. They were supposed to be in March Madness. Yeah. So we had them made. I think it helps Kelsey. I know that, some people in here are writing some other, there's been a bunch of great tight ends, and I'm not trying to live in the now and speak hyperbolic, but I think that when all is said and done, Kelsey will be the best one. As for Reid and Mahomes, I think getting this one for Reid it's really important. And we'll talk about Mahomes because getting to the 2 for any quarterback essentially, stamps you into the Hall of Fame. But Andy Reid went through such a long period of being the guy that got to the top of the mountain, but was here, right? So that really the top is right here and was right there and was reaching and would always just slip down and not get there. Getting this second one puts him in rarefied air. And you can no longer talk about Andy Reid as being a guy that falls short. He's done it with different players, different organizations. And yes, like Belichick will be linked together forever with Brady. Reid and Mahomes will be linked together. And I think this was absolutely monstrous for Reid.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think you're putting him there in rarefied air when you're looking at coaching. I mean, that's just to get your second Super Bowl, to now be 2-2 and 4 trips to the Super Bowl, lost his only trip with Philadelphia, got absolutely embarrassed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady and Bruce Arians in losing that game a couple years ago. And now to get back and to win it and do it differently. Without Tyreek Hill, the offensive line was better. I think they learned a lot from, that. I think there are a number of factors. Maybe that game looks a little bit different if they did not go through the Tampa Bay Buccaneer experience. I do believe, and we talked about it last week, and it wasn't a massive talking point nationally. I do think as a staff, understanding that they went into that game, I think if you looked at their game plan against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, now you did have Tyreek Hill on the field, so it was a little bit different offensively this year. I think they learned as a staff. I thought they were arrogant in that Super Bowl against Tampa. There was no arrogance last night. The adjustment that they made, understanding of how to get space, free releases of the receivers, the formations that they used last night, I thought was remarkable. I mean, it was a testament to where the experience, the coaching staff, everything that goes into it, having an all-time great quarterback, not taking anything away from what Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles were able to accomplish either, because Hurts had an all-time great performance.
Hurts was the best player on the field yesterday.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts was by far, no doubt. I totally agree. Jalen Hurts was by far the best player on the field. Unfortunately, he was on the losing side, but gives you hope that the Eagles can get back there in relative short order. And as we discussed in hour number 1, you look at the complexion of the NFC, it's not all that daunting when, I think you could see a little regression with the Giants. The Dallas Cowboys you never believe in. Aaron Rodgers might be a Jet next year. You can't buy into the Packers, or you're really going to buy into the Minnesota Vikings, the Detroit Lions. Who exactly in the South are you buying into? With Tom Brady now into retirement. You look at the NFC West, you're going to buy into the Los Angeles Rams. You're going to buy into the Seattle Seahawks. You're going to buy into the Arizona Cardinals, as they're going to have a new head coach. I mean, where are you going here? And so maybe Philadelphia, this is the start of a pretty decent run for them of getting back to the Super Bowl on multiple occasions, because let's also not forget they do have 2 first-round draft choices coming up in this spring's NFL draft, and they're going to look a lot different. I do have to have egg on my face, because I might have made one of the, not to make this about myself, but I do have to apologize, because was it Baby J that called up and said, I apologize for not giving you the UFC pick. I apologize for actually giving you the pick of Miles Sanders to be MVP. Because Miles Sanders, I think at one point in time, I actually thought Miles Sanders was playing for Kansas City. He was so bad.
Moose, Scott Miller, who I know from CBS WFAN, he was at my house yesterday, right? So we're hanging out, and he had some bets on Miles Sanders, and he at one point turned around and looked at me, and goes, "Is Miles Sanders playing today? What's going on?"
Yeah, he was terrible, and that's going to be the last game of Miles Sanders as a Philadelphia Eagle, because he's a free agent. So they're not going to be bringing Miles Sanders back. And
do they now draft a running back at that spot? No, right? Like you can't. What are they at 5? They have the
no, they're not
pick,
drafting
right?
a running back at 5. I would imagine that they would try and figure. I would imagine that they would draft a corner at 5.
No, Seahawks have 5. What do the Eagles have?
They have a top 10 pick.
10. They actually are at 10. Sorry.
They're at 10. So they have a top 10 pick. I would imagine that they would try and draft a corner. If not, I think they might draft like an edge rusher, because you have guys that have got age. Brandon Graham might not be back. Fletcher Cox is getting up there in age. Son Reddick was signed to a 3-year, $45 million deal. Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph. Like I would imagine the Philadelphia Eagles might address the defensive line, but I think corner, because Bradbury was signed to a 1-year, $11 million contract. Bradbury's going to get paid after this season.
Yeah.
He's probably not going to be a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. And
Bradbury will be able to hold on to a contract.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Too
and
soon?
he'll be playing someplace else. But, yeah, so the Eagles aren't going anywhere. I get the whole point of it. They're not going anywhere. It's just a tough way to go into the offseason if you're Sirianni. That's a long flight home from Arizona back to Philadelphia, thinking about what could have been in the second half.
I'm not sure how I'd be able to sleep because Moose, your boys play pretty high level hockey.
Yeah.
When's the last time one of them lost? Forget about like flag football, because I know you had one win a flag football championship, one lose one. When's the last time one of them lost a really big hockey game? Have they lost a big hockey game where like you had to console them?
No, they've lost flag football games where we've had to console them.
Okay,
They
so
lost a Little League championship game where we had to console them.
yeah. So
I mean the tournaments, the championship games they've made in the tournaments they've won so far. I mean they haven't won every championship they played in, but
it has, So for Alex, he's younger, and I feel like he handles everything really well. But like, it's funny with Austin, being now 12 and playing in some high level basketball games, and if he plays poorly or the team loses and he feels like he could have done better. It's so weird that I find myself losing sleep over it. And I'm not even the coach. I'm just the dad. And it's simply because, like, I know how much hard work he puts into it and how it crushes him. Like, it really hurts him if he loses. And I always try to do the whole, like, we're trying to build character and it's a learning lesson, all that kind of stuff. And I think I'm doing well with that. And Jody does a great job with it too. A lot of it tends to fall on me for that type of stuff. But I don't know if I were on that Eagles team. I don't know how I sleep the next couple of days. Like, I think every time I close my eyes and I start dozing off, I would imagine that it would come back. Like, if I'm Sirianni, it would come back to, like, why did we do this on 3rd and 8? Why didn't we do this play here? Like, I would replay everything. I think it would be really difficult for me to sleep for the next couple of days.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think as a team, Keith, as you see professionally more so in the NFL than everything else, is that the team, there's going to be massive turnover. So you get the kind of one run at it. There's core guys that'll be back. I'm talking about just as a group. When you look at the 53-man roster, there's going to be 8, 9, 10, maybe 11 or 12 different guys that are on the team next year as compared to this year, maybe even more for the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's going to look distinctly different.
Well, the Eagles are going to lose their OC also. So
yeah, I mean, so you get one shot at it. So the finality of it, losing that game, realizing it as a group, you're not running it back, and then having to lose that game. I mean, we all love the Super Bowl. There's no worse spot to be in than be on the losing team in a Super Bowl. There just isn't, because you're going to play the game coulda, woulda, shoulda, especially in a game. We've watched blowouts. We've watched teams get outclassed. This is not, the Atlanta Falcons getting blitzed by Denver. This is not some of those Denver Bronco performances against, whether it be, the San Francisco 49ers or, the second quarter against Washington and Doug Williams in Super Bowl 22. This was a game that was a very, very winnable game for the Philadelphia Eagles. And as great as Jalen Hurts was, and he was the best player on the field, I think he's going to go back to that fumble. How does he lose that ball? And then how does it bounce and he ends up kicking it to the open field where the only 3 players that could recover it were all Kansas City Chiefs, and Bolton picks it up and scores the touchdown to tie the game up at 14. But how do you get called for a false start on 3rd and less than half of a yard on the play before, which should have been an easily quarterback sneak conversion for the Philadelphia Eagles? Like, how do you get all that happening? Philadelphia in that first half played really, really well. Should have been up by more than 10, weren't. And you saw the brilliance of Mahomes and the Chiefs and that coaching staff in half number 2. And the Philadelphia Eagles just could not get the ball back in order to respond.
Yeah, just not enough to be able to be done for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Kansas City Chiefs are your winners. Jessica Brandon writes in here, something I question about Philadelphia: why was Bradbury wearing black gloves against a wide receiver wearing white? Little things that add up.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
It's a good catch.
Point.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's very smart. Yeah, no doubt. That's something you don't want to do, because it's harder to see exactly if it's a black glove going up against a white jersey. It's much easier to see as compared if it's white on white.
Rihanna performance, you liked it or no?
Yeah, I thought I give it. I mean, she's pregnant. I mean, I mean,
Which I guess we found out yesterday, right?
yeah. I mean, it's she did an unbelievable job. She just did. I thought it was a cool look, vantage point. She's way up in the sky and everything. She's an unbelievable superstar. We know a lot of the songs. Sitting there and watching the halftime show last
A little risque.
Yeah, I thought.
There was a few hand gestures that she made that I was really hoping my kids didn't understand.
That's where I don't necessarily need to see that. I don't. I was just, like I mentioned earlier in the show, Keith, I was a little bit just disappointed that there weren't others. Not saying I didn't need to see Kanye West. I'm talking about she's done other collaborations with other artists. I
thought Jay-Z might have popped up.
That's who I thought as well.
Yeah.
Because Jay-Z was at the game.
Yes. Yep.
He was at the game with his daughter.
Yeah.
Jay-Z, I thought Eminem. I thought there would be somebody that came out with Rihanna last night. That wasn't the case. I thought it was okay. It wasn't I don't think it was an all-time great. Like, I don't know what we need to see at the NFL halftime. It's 13 minutes long.
I thought last year was great, though.
Yeah, last
Eminem,
year.
Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, 50 Cent. Like, I thought last year was awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was very good. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought it was very good. I go back, I think Prince in that Colts Bears Super Bowl when it
Yeah.
was starting to rain, doing Purple Rain.
Bruno Mars was good.
Bruno Mars, I thought was very, very good. Yeah. Was last night, does that top like U2? Does it top Prince? Does it top?
No, last night will ultimately be forgettable. It'll be forgettable, though.
Yeah, I thought she did a nice job. I don't think it's the most memorable halftime show that I've ever witnessed.
Yeah, it was good. She's extremely, extremely talented as a singer. Yeah. Did you see the rumors that Taylor Swift maybe next year?
Oh, is that right?
That's the rumor. Now, did we talk about? I can't remember if we talked about this on Friday or not. Did we? Do you know that these artists don't get paid to do this, right?
No, I did.
Did
know.
you? Yeah.
I did know.
So like someone like Rihanna, let's say. All right. So she gets zero money for herself. What they do is they give you essentially like an allowance. It's a certain amount of money that is paid so that you can pay all the dancers, everybody that's on that crew, and it makes it happen. From what I was reading, most of these artists, when they do this, end up spending actually millions of dollars of their own money. But it's essentially a 12 or a 13-minute advertisement for them. Like The Weeknd, when he did his show 2 years ago.
Terrible.
Right. But then he broke like almost every record on tour for people buying his tickets. And when Justin Timberlake had the wardrobe malfunction, his album was coming out after that. It sold more than like any album had sold at that point. So it's a great way to market yourself. If Taylor Swift, I think Taylor Swift would be awesome.
Yeah, and Jessica Brand is right in our chat session. There was the story out there last year that the NFL was going to start charging.
Yep.
But that never transpired. That never happened. Listen, I think it's a great promotional tool. Like if you're an artist and you get chosen to do the halftime show, I think for yourself, your label, everything that goes along with it, you have how many people that are watching it. We were talking about the fact that $16 billion was going to be bet on the Super Bowl. How many people around this country are watching that game last night? How many people are locked in to watch the halftime show? And people are going to love it or hate it, but they're going to watch it. So it's a tremendous promotional tool if you're a recording artist. So I get while doing it, and I don't think you're ever going to please everybody. So Taylor Swift next year, I think would be awesome.
I think Taylor Swift, of the popular artists out there right now, would be as close to being able to please everyone as you could. Right? Like, I think the older people out there tend to like Taylor Swift. Kids like Taylor Swift. You like country music, you like Taylor Swift. You like pop, you like Taylor Swift. You like rap music. Some people like Taylor Swift. Like, I think she crosses over into everyone, and I can sing many of her songs word for word. So
yeah, I think it would be pretty cool. I think overall, I thought it was I thought it was a pretty I thought it was an entertaining day. It's a little sad that the NFL is now gone, but baseball is in the focus as pitchers and catchers will be reporting this week for Major League Baseball teams. The start of the MLB season is right around the corner. March Madness is 5 weeks away.
Purdue, take them down. Oh, sorry,
Yes.
my bad. Purdue
March
got
Madness
rocked.
is 5 weeks away, so the sports does roll on.
March Madness, I don't know about you. I have no idea who's winning this championship this year. I feel like every year there's like 2 or 3 teams I feel really comfortable saying that one of those 2 or 3 teams are going to win, barring anything catastrophic. I have no idea. None.
No, it's wide open.
It is so wide open.
Yeah, we're going to get people on. I mean, I think Coach is going to join us tomorrow, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, 10:30, I think, tomorrow.
Right. So we're going to do a little NBA, a little college basketball with Coach. He's going to join us tomorrow. And it's the NCAA tournament's going to be completely wide open. I agree with you. I don't think like Purdue's not North Carolina. They're not Duke. So it's not one of those teams where you look at it and say, because all they've done is find ways to lose in the NCAA tournament, and the team is centered around the big man. If you get the big man in foul trouble, then all of a sudden everything changes when you look at the Purdue Boilermakers. So I think when you look around the country, I think it's a sign of the times. When you look at the transfer portal and you look at guys changing programs, it becomes less about the name on the back of the jersey and more about the name on the front of the jersey, because half the time it's completely different than where college basketball was 20 or 30 years ago. Not taking anything away from guys being able to make as much money as they possibly can and profit for themselves as collegiate athletes, Keith. But the idea of building a program and a guy stepping in as a freshman to a Division I program and earning playing time and developing, that's no longer the case, because if that individual is upset that they're not getting enough burn, they're going to hop in the transfer portal and head someplace else where they think they're going to get time on the court.
Yeah, when I look at the top 25, and by the way, Jessica, I think Alabama's a great play there. I mean, Purdue, Houston doesn't really play a tough schedule, which is one of the things that's always going to be a knock against them. I do like Alabama. Arizona, we don't get a chance to see a lot, especially if you're on the East Coast. The team that I would say, and I would love to see what the future market is, UCLA seems like a team that I can rock with. I'm always looking for a team that has 1 or 2 guys that could be in the NBA. They have that, and then guys that have been there before. And they have a lot of guys that have still been a part of this team for the last 2 or 3 seasons, a lot of juniors on this team. I think UCLA can make a little run. We'll get really into the weeds and really get a little further into March Madness, and conference tournaments start in like 11 days, right? I think February 24th they start. I think so. I think there are a few conference tournaments that start February 24th.
That soon?
I think I'm right. Someone fact check me on that. I think the first conference tournament starts February 24th.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, college basketball, we're going to get into it. We're going to do that. You know what? Coming up straight ahead, why don't we do a little betting on brand? Jessica will join us.
Yep.
And we've got Dave Sharapan who's going to join us at the bottom of the hour, right around 11:30, and get his thoughts on what we saw yesterday in Super Bowl 57, and gets his thoughts as well. And Keith's got some NBA plays too. A lot.
I do.
Yeah, a lot to get into here over the last 35, 40 plus minutes here of Moose and Keith on this Monday. Come on back right here, Better Sports Network.
Moose and Keith, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Better Sports Network.
Baby J just wrote in the chat as we went to break that Nick Sirianni is the most punchable face in the NFL.
I think
I don't see it.
Well, yeah, I think people are bothered, and you saw the Giants bothered by the fact of how he was acting and his antics. And I'm growing a little tired of Kayvon Thibodeau on social media. Everybody
he's bothering me a little bit.
Well, everybody that criticizes Kayvon Thibodeau, he basically tells you, I don't know who you are, whether it be Jeff Saturday or whether it be Joe Staley.
Yeah.
Julian Love last week going on Good Morning Football on the NFL Network and saying Sirianni's in for a free ride. Just look how talented that team is. Well, I mean, I think it's a little unfair. If you're a Giant or you're a member or you are a fan of the Giants, you went in there on that Saturday night and you got embarrassed.
Doesn't it feel like sour grapes, right? Like it just feels like
you
guys beat me up, so now I'm just going to try to find a way to beat you down.
And if you're Kayvon Thibodeau, enough, shut up. I mean, you're on social media enough with the fact that anybody that rips you or criticizes you or going out there and saying or ripping the 49ers who didn't have a quarterback in the NFC Championship game and saying, well, he could have done a better job than what San Francisco is doing. Well, they didn't have a quarterback. And then Joe Staley calls him out. And then I got to have Michael Strahan tag teaming and jumping in and, and ripping Joe Staley. The fact that Michael Strahan got 2.5 sacks on him during his rookie year, where Joe Staley was critical of what Kayvon Thibodeau did this year. I mean, are we serious here?
Yeah, that's what we're doing here.
I mean, this is really what it's coming down to. I mean, why not hold the young man accountable and say, no, listen, zip it. Enough. Like you don't need to comment on everything, nor do I care. Yeah. You're not Micah Parsons. You're not Lawrence Taylor. You're none of those.
But
things.
he thinks he is.
Well, but that's the problem. He's not.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not, and I would say he has a long way to go.
And maybe he becomes one of the best. He could.
I mean, it's possible. Do I think he's ever going to be Micah Parsons? I don't.
I don't. He's talented.
He's talented. I'm not telling you he's not going to have a successful NFL career. But everybody that criticizes him, he says, I don't know who you are. Well, why don't you look up and have for the men that played in this league before you and what they accomplished in this league? That the league didn't start the day that you stepped foot in the National Football League. And sometimes there's reasons why people are going to go out there. And if you're going to make comments as stupid as he did in the NFC Championship game, you understand that you're going to get called out for it. And if you get called out for being dopey, don't all of a sudden respond with, I don't know who you are.
Moose and Keith, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Better Sports Network. Moose and Keith on Better Sports Network.
All right, time now for a little betting on Brand. Jessica Brand joins us as she does each and every day. Good morning, Jessica. How are you doing? Super Bowl 57, certainly interesting ending, but was it a profitable day for you?
Yeah, extremely profitable. So I had the Chiefs. So I did some stuff with unabated. I had Chiefs on the money line because what they did for that, they did a side or a total for that, and then they did a prop. So I had Mahomes under 293.5 pass yards in Kansas City money line, and I had Kansas City to win by 3. So I had a really, really good day.
There you go. Beautiful. All right, what do you got for us tonight?
All right, so we got a few things here. So first thing I want to look at, so I'm going to my New York books. I'm crossing the state border. I'm looking at the city. I'm meeting Jay-Z. I'm seeing WinBet here. So we're going to look at the Pacers and the Jazz. Jazz minus 3.5. You can get that at plus 145 at WinBet. I had that good basically to plus 138. I think that's where it really is. So right now you're getting about 3.5% plus expected value on that. That's a nice play there. That's one that I found that comes to mind pretty early, and that you can still grab that because a lot of these grab off the board pretty much immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And, WinBet's nice because they'll take you a lot of your money if you still win. A lot of these books won't do that, so keep that in mind if I give you plays.
Not available in New York, correct?
They start to cap you.
That is the New York book, correct. So you can bet that, yeah.
Okay. They start to cap you.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So the other one I'm going to look at is the American Buck and Elk spread at minus 1.5. You can get that at minus 105 right now. That's good to me to minus 115. I have it at minus 118. So that's almost 6% in the expected value.
Okay.
Can I just ask you, like, you're not taking these guys tonight, 10-point favorites at home against Drexel? I'm just saying, Hofstra, 7-game winning streak,
Yeah, I hope Estrada gets healthy and everyone wins, but
Yeah. They 7-game winning streak, first place in the CAA, cruising along, playing great defense.
I mean, we got to get the bookmakers to make the prices healthy. I think they'll do it, but
yeah, I can't gamble on that on Hofstra. One, I wouldn't anyway, but I can't gamble on them because I can't gamble on college, New York college basketball teams.
Yeah, it's a New Jersey law, the Mass law. All these states have that. Like Ohio has that when they just come up with it. Another WinBet play though, NBA that we know we can bet on.
Yes,
the money line basically of Pelicans Thunder. You can get that at WinBet again. I had that go to basically plus 115. I have it technically at 117. That's about 5.5 of expected value.
Beautiful.
Lots of big money plays today. These are all available right now, by the way, because there were some other ones I've been on, like some Champions League, some Bundesliga for the German football, if you like that. But these are immediate basketball plays that you can get in today. And really, you're talking about 4% expected value. Like, if you tell me you have a 4% edge on the house, that's pretty outstanding for 3 separate bets. And you keep doing that like this, you're going to win in the end because the model works. Like, it's had a big enough sample to test that out over sizes.
All right. So your top play tonight is Jessica is what?
So I would say for sure it's that one I was saying basically about the Bucknell basically on FanDuel. If you can get that minus 105, that's outstanding.
And that's Bucknell to win, correct?
That is a spread play, a minus 1.5 at FanDuel.
Okay. And Jessica, how do you use that? You mentioned one thing in our chat session at one point in time, not the what is it called? Spank odds. Do you use Spank odds?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah. So one of these times I've been meaning to show it. Like, I don't know how we'd show it on like a screen, but I use Spank odds to get odds all across the world, basically, of what books are offering, and I come up with my own mix of formulas and books I like to use depending on the sport, because certain books are smarter or sharper than other books at certain sports. Because like you look at what, let's say, Circus Sports is trying to do. They're trying to make their own niche with being a very sharp college sports book. If you talk about Pinnacle, which I know, if you talk about some people, they'll say, oh, it's the sharpest sports book. Pinnacle is a sharp book, but it's not really what it used to be under the Three Wise Men. Ask Dave Sheriffan about that one. That is a throwback reference right there.
Pinnacle and the Three Wise Men.
Jessica, you're great. We appreciate it. And I think we're going to have an open for you at some point this week as well. So, Jessica, we'll chat with you tomorrow, right?
All right. Thanks, Moose. Thanks, Cheese. Hope everybody enjoyed the game as much as I did. Well, as much as we could. It was fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jessica. Great stuff as always.
Especially if you had the Chiefs. Jessica did.
Yes.
That was the
Chiefs. Yay.
Celebrating. It's like it's over. We won it.
Yay.
38-35 to the good.
What is it? Hail the Kingdom or whatever, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Why don't we get to some NBA plays you like tonight before we welcome Sharapan aboard?
All right, I got a few for you.
All right, what do we got tonight in the NBA?
I'm going to start with 11 games of the slate, and I'm going to try to give you just a few player props, mostly plus money, not all superstars here, okay? So we're going to start off with the Hawks.
And Hornets, okay.
Yeah, let's start off with the Hawks and the Hornets. I like what I'm seeing from John Collins as of late. His minutes are up, 30 or more minutes in 4 consecutive games, had 15 or more points in 3 consecutive games. So it led me to just points for him. I'm not going to do any points, rebounds, assists, anything like that, just points. Even money, DraftKings, over 13.5. He has topped this in 3 consecutive games. The Hornets have given up the 3rd most points per game this season, 5th in pace of play, and the Hawks are 9th in pace of play. I know we have Sharapan coming up. He can take some notes on these. He's going to love these player props. I guarantee. He's going to come on. He's going to be like, wow, Keith, you are not just handsome, you're a genius as well. Let's go Spurs and Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell. We're going to go over on his rebounds here. So not points, not assists. We're going to go over on the rebounds of 4.5 at plus 110 on DraftKings. 3 consecutive games, has had 5 or more rebounds. San Antonio, worst defense in the NBA. 10th most rebounds allowed per game. Also, pace of play is high at 8th. Moose, let me continue rolling along. Nets and Knicks. Let's go with not Speedy Claxton, Nick Claxton to get a steal tonight. Minus 121 on Caesars. The blocks number was what I was initially going for, but it's a 2.5. It's plus 145. Can't do it. I mean, listen, if you had a great week, maybe you go for it. But how about this? 1 steal or more in 5 of his last 6 games. 2 more quick plays before we get to Sharapan. Pelicans and the Thunder. CJ McCollum, we're going to go over 2.5 3-pointers made at minus 110 on DraftKings. 4 more threes made in 6 consecutive games. Pace of play, Thunder are 3rd. Pelicans are 11th, and the Thunder allow the 10th most points per game. And here's the weird one. Moose, this is for you. Drew Eubanks, over 16.5 points and rebounds at minus 105 on DraftKings. It's the Lakers and the Blazers. He's been hovering around this number for basically 6 consecutive games. His minutes are rising, 22 or more minutes in 7 of his last 9 games. So when teams want to focus on guys like Damian Lillard, you zig when Dave Sharapan zags, and you go to Drew Eubanks.
All right, Drew Eubanks, love it. You know who we also love? We love this guy. Let's head out to Vegas. Here's Dave Sharapan.
Now joining the show, Dave Sharapan.
He is. Like the Academy Awards. Dave, good morning.
You know I can hear you while you're doing these things. Like you know I can hear you.
All right.
I'm gonna love these props. What are you talking about?
And then you're gonna tell me that I'm not.
Look at this jacket. This jacket is sick. Look,
that's amazing.
Look at this colorful jacket and these glasses. I pulled this move on the Friday show on MLB.
Tyreek Hill gave those to you.
Tyreek Hill, Soul Runner.
You and Cheetah, Boris.
Told him I would wear them. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you want to tell me that I'm not just handsome and I'm a smart too? Go ahead. You can tell me.
Most.
Go ahead. Just say it.
Seriously.
The world wants to hear you say it. Go ahead.
The studio set looks fantastic, by the way. It does. It looks nice.
Shout out Tommy behind the scenes.
It looks sharp. Very nice job.
What are we going to talk about? Are we going to talk about that call? I mean, Moose, are you over this or what? I mean, where do you stand on this? You still mad?
Yeah, I had trouble sleeping last night. That's an atrocity of a call.
I was afraid we were going to go that route.
Dave, you can't make that call in that spot.
What about all the people saying that the guy said he did it?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't. I don't care. Like that you didn't call defensive holding the entire night. You didn't call
right?
You didn't call defensive holding the entire game.
Not once.
Yet you call it on 3rd and 8 with 1:45 to go. That gives the Chiefs a first down and enables them basically to kick the game-winning field goal with 8 seconds to go. That's when you pull that flag?
On a pass that was
that had no chance of being completed.
Dave, you set this up, man. Look at you.
Not even catchable.
Like, how do you make that? How do you make that call?
Uncatchable
and then,
ball.
Then how do they all come together and then come to the real and then be like, guys, are we really going to decide the Super Bowl on a defensive holding call where the pass had no chance of being completed?
They did it last year.
Yeah,
you know,
back-to-back
did
years.
It last year, right? Right inside the 10,
Mm-hmm.
you get that call. That one was more egregious than the one yesterday, but I don't know. I don't want the Super Bowl to be remembered for that, but I think unfortunately a lot of people are going to remember it for that. And you know, this is your safe space. I don't want to get you upset. I see you sitting downstairs. So
Donna put him in the basement. Donna put him in the basement today.
My kids are off this week. They're off this week. So
I thought Donna just banished him to the basement.
Post Super Bowl break for the school or what?
They're right. So they have a Super Bowl, and then we're driving up to Lake Placid after the show Thursday for hockey tournaments. Jackson,
he's ditching us on Friday.
Friday will not be with you.
Wait, the kids get to play where they won the gold medal?
Yes.
That's amazing.
This is like when the little kids played a baseball tournament at Cooperstown. They get to
we have they have the opening ceremonies Thursday night at 7:00 in Lake Placid. So we got to leave right after the show and drive up to Lake Placid, which is going to be great. Like I can't wait. I love watching. You know, as you will love watching your daughters, Keith love watching his sons. Like I love watching my kids play sports and play hockey.
All three of them get a chance to play?
Just Jackson and Paul. Gregory's team is not. No.
Okay.
Wow. It's a shame because that Eagle money would have helped pay for the trip. You know.
I know.
That would have been nice.
Well, and then the other, it's not just that. Okay, yes, you're right. The Eagle money would have helped, and winning that would have band great, and finally winning something would have been awesome. But. Right. The other thing is, my son was crying himself to sleep last night. And he was like, "That was not. How do they call that at that time?" And we're in the heart of Giant country.
Yeah.
So there's no shoulder to cry on. We're not in South Philly.
No.
Where you can
I mean, you could have him call Uncle Keith. I would talk to him.
I will, Keith. I got home last night from picks at 1:00. He was like, "Daddy, can you lay with me?" So I laid with him.
Oh,
and then, Daddy, he goes, "That was not a holding call." I go, "They should never have called that." I go, "Jackson, I know."
This is one of those things.
I'm sending out tweets at 1:00 in the morning. I'm like, I can't believe they made that call, Dave.
Yeah. This is one of those things you got to learn. I think the earlier you learn as a kid the tougher you can be. I mean, like, I had nothing but success being in Pittsburgh early, although went to Penguin games and watched them lose a lot of hockey games. So we kind of got it on both ends. But the sooner you can find out that being a Philly fan is hard, let alone an Eagles fan, I think the better off the kid will be, Moose. Like, you got to break him in.
No, but that's tough. He's 9.
It'll toughen them up. It's okay. The kids are resilient.
Dave,
You're the one that's going to have the argument over
You
this.
agree you can't make that call, right? You agree. You agree that people are looking at not only that, Dave, like, and I heard Mike Francesa make this point last night, or he tweeted, like, when did they decide to play the game on ice last night?
Yeah.
When did they decide to basically the Eagles pass rush was historic, yet they decide to install $800,000 new grass on that field where you couldn't gain a foothold if you're a defensive player when you had Hassan Reddick, who's a speed rusher, basically going down to his legs every time he tried to rush the quarterback.
I would say that your kids could skate better than Hassan Reddick looked skating on that field yesterday. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, it really was. That was one of the stories I took away from it. Like, how can this be? It's coming to Vegas next year, boys. 364 days from now, we're going to have the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. I can't wait. It's going to be, a home game for me. I've never been to a Super Bowl. I may actually go. I was going to go yesterday, and the stuff was just too expensive. I mean, everything was just way too expensive. But yeah, making that call right then was questionable at best. But again, there were so many other things that I think were either let go. I didn't have a problem with the officials up until that point.
Yeah.
But like my middle one, she insisted that the Eagles were going to win. And I was down in Arizona, and she called me on Saturday after a week worth of shows and all this other stuff and says, I want you to put in a ticket for me on the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. And I'm like, okay, well, you have to put up 11 to win 10. And she goes, well, I want to win 100. I'm like, oh, big time now. Okay. You want to bet 110 to win 100. And my wife steps in and goes, well, Daddy's the best book to do it with, because if you win, you get paid. But if you lose, you don't have to pay.
She's right.
That's not right, Keith. What are you talking about?
Your wife is correct, though.
She's not.
You were going to charge your daughter.
You were not. I mean, come on.
Come on.
You got to pay.
No, come on. No. How old? Middle Consig is 17, right?
17. You want
You're
to
not
be a
charging her
teenager,
yet.
You want
No,
to drive a
you're
car,
no.
You want to make a bet, you got to pay.
No, you're not charging her yet.
That's
you're
bad
not.
business. Books go out of business when they don't charge the customer.
But dads don't go out of business. Daddy-daughter love is forever.
I got to do more shows, is what I told her. I said, "Yeah, I'll do more shows so I can pay you. Sure, no problem." Yeah, oh my goodness!
Look
I
at you
can't believe you're
trying.
siding with him.
Moose, look at him trying to be a tough guy.
You're not. You wouldn't do that.
Good persona here. Good job, buddy. Why don't you put the sunglasses back on?
Shtick. That's you're not going to charge your daughter.
Put the sunglasses back on. I can't look at you right now.
She just took the little one to school. I said, "Where's my 100?"
Oh, come on.
I'm going to make her pay. You got to pay. I was going to give her 100.
Yeah.
I won't charge her the juice. It'll be 100.
Oh, look, sweetheart.
You should be like you should be like when we'd book bets with Russo back in the day with Chris Russo at the Fed. He'd have like a little book out, and he'd write it down, and then he'd be like, you're 750 in the rears. When am I going to get a bet?
Can you say it like him though? Say it like him, please.
You're 750 in the rears, Maki. When am I going to get my? I'm like Chris. I'm not making that much money. I'm producing. Hey, listen. You made the bet. You have to be a man here. There comes responsibility. You're going to make the bet. You got to pay back. I took the bet. I put it in for you. I go, right. I understand. I've got some credit card bills I need to take care of. But you will not forget. And
then Francesa sitting there going, I love New York. I do. I love New York.
So, yeah.
I tried to get Chris on the show. Had I known that I could have dropped him a Moose reference, he might have actually come on with me and Pearl.
Yeah, drop
Damn it.
Yes.
Hey,
was
can I?
being
This is a
whisked
safe
around the
space,
whole
right,
time.
guys?
Yeah.
We always talk about safe space.
Yeah, let's go.
So I just got this text,
Uh-oh.
and I'm not going to actually give you the address in it because it tells you where I live. Okay.
Okay.
It says, "Hi, your place at insert address
Yes.
caught my eye.
Oh.
Any possibility you'd be open to a quick call to outline a proposal for it? Question mark Juan."
No.
So there's a
Delete.
button that says report junk. Do I do the report
Yeah.
junk button?
Yes.
Right? All right, we're
Yeah.
gonna report that, delete
Yeah.
and report
You
junk.
buy your house.
Yeah, someone wants to buy my house apparently. But I also don't like the fact that they had my address and they're texting to my
They have
cell phone.
everything. These phones have everything. You
I don't
make
like it.
sports wagers, it has everything.
I don't like it.
Oh, that's this is part of living in 2023.
Dave, how
Yeah.
did you do Super Bowl Sunday? Besides your daughter owing you money, did you make any other money?
The over was good.
Yeah.
that was the only real play. I had the exactas.
Yeah.
The Chiefs money was just
Did
slightly
you bet
less.
the Chiefs too?
I had the Chiefs over the Eagles and the Eagles over the Chiefs.
Right,
so
but
I
did
had
you
that
bet the
nil.
Chiefs on as a side yesterday or no?
In game?
Oh,
In game.
Oh, did you see plus 450 at half? Some of the books
I think I got plus 360 on the Chiefs and like plus.
So at halftime, you thought the Chiefs were coming back to win it?
That's where all the
Well,
value was, right?
I just took the. I didn't really think they were. I mean, how many times is a double-digit dog or a double-digit deficit?
Now twice.
That's it, right? 2 times ever.
Right,
That's the
but
second
let's-
time ever.
I mean, I think it was Action Network sent out a tweet last night, not to call them out, and compared them to the Atlanta Falcons. There is a difference.
This did not feel like the Falcons. No.
Well, the Falcons were up 28-3.
Yeah, this was not anything like this. I know that they get into the annals, the history. It's the two teams now that have lost. And I know I'm going to sound like an Eagles fan here. This was not that. They're
both
not.
birds.
But this was not an
Falcons,
was not an
Eagles.
epic skeet shooting accident. It wasn't.
I mean, legendary quarterback at the helm of the team coming back. There was a lot of similarities. No,
you stop
the
that
deficit. Stop.
It was a bigger deficit. I'll never forget that. Well, I mean, I had Frank Thomas come up when he was there, and a bunch of people were betting. They were just betting Atlanta like it was done, and it was over. I was in the VIP room.
I'm sorry, Frank Thomas, like the big hurt Frank Thomas?
The big hurt.
Did you just subtly drop I had Frank Thomas come up to me?
Well, he was the one I remember because he was so adamant, and it was
he like, yo, what up, Dave?
I was like, yeah, Frank used to hang out with us at the joint. Yeah,
You're
he
kidding.
No, I swear to God, Frank lived here for a while. Yes, Frank used
The big dude, huh?
One of the biggest dudes, like in regular clothes. Like when he would stand at my window was like an eclipse. Like I couldn't see anybody behind him. Nothing. You couldn't see anything. A man's shoulders were a house, and he would just come up. But yeah, he used to he came to that. We had a tremendous VIP Super Bowl bash at the Cosmo. A lot of people came to that. When I write the book, I'm not even going to name the names in the book because I don't want anybody coming after me. But there was a lot of people there. But that one I'll never forget. That was one that just kept coming with Atlanta. We were just sitting there behind the counter like, it's Tom Brady, right? They got to score again. They have to score again.
I know.
And they didn't score again.
Dave, do you have any off the top of your head? Do you remember what the number was at half? Or at least, how about this? What do you think the money line was for the Patriots when they were down 28-3? Do you have any recollection? I don't.
The halftime line, they were favored.
Okay.
I think it was New England -7.
But how about when the Falcons were up
that would have made
28-3?
the in-game line 21. No, they were down 28-3. It's 25 points. So 17 and a half, 18 and a half. They're probably getting that many points in game.
Do you have any idea what their money line was?
Well, that would have been
Oh wait, Jessica's
7 to
actually
1.
writing in. She thinks it was 19-1.
Yeah, it's somewhere in that neighborhood. It was probably close. I don't remember specifically. I was in the book. I was in the room. and at the counter. Wasn't really paying
Okay.
attention to the in-game stuff then. So
Oh, we had a question we were supposed to ask you from Jessica.
what's the
We
question?
were supposed to ask you about Pinnacle and the Three Wise Men.
What's the question?
I don't know. That was the question. She said to ask Dave about Pinnacle and the Three Wise Men.
Yeah.
And who's asking?
Jessica Brand.
Jessica Brand, friend of the show.
She's doing research on this
Yeah,
stuff. This
about
is
how
good.
Pinnacle has changed.
Yeah.
Who's the Three Wise Men?
Yeah. What's the
Some
story here?
professionals. They're professionals. We'll leave it at that.
Oh, so there is a story, but it's not a story. But there is a story, but there isn't one.
That's probably a story for when we're sitting down having meatballs back there somewhere.
All
Yeah.
right. What does this do for the legacy of Mahomes and Kelsey? This is how you segue out of something that seemed awkward for a second. Go.
It's not awkward. It was just one of those things.
You're like, who's asking? Who's asking?
No,
I was like,
you heard that, right? Hey, yo, who asking? Who's asking over here?
This just got on. I don't.
It's
Jessica,
just-
who's
just one of
what?
those things.
Did
yeah.
Jessica try to set us up, Moose? Is that what just happened?
Maybe. I don't know.
She might have.
Yeah, she set us
might have.
up.
Are,
I'm
the-
impressed.
are these wise men illegal wise men?
Moose,
know
leave it. Moose.
I don't know nothing about it.
I don't know nothing about nothing.
I don't know nothing
Hey,
about it.
I
don't
never
know.
heard nothing.
I don't know. What is the legacy? That's what everybody's talking about. I'm worried about the odds for next year already. Like the odds are up. We're already talking about where Aaron Rodgers is going to go. I wanted to ask both of you, could you go sit in a dark cave for 4 days?
I can
Either
do
one
it.
of you.
Yeah, I can do it.
I 100% could do it. I couldn't wait to do it, actually.
Yeah,
That'd be
I could do
great.
it. Yeah, Moose said he'd be out in about an hour.
No,
Moose?
no. I'm
Just kidding.
No. Oh, well, no, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe an hour, maybe 45 minutes. I don't.
Yeah,
That's
Moose is
it?
out. Yeah.
Dude, I have no interest. I have no.
You
interest.
get in touch with the thoughts and places.
4
you
days of
didn't even
sleep
know where
also,
you
Dave.
went.
Do you
4
really,
days of
or is it
sleep.
or is it just all nonsense?
Oh, I don't know. I think I would love it. Have you ever done one of those float tanks?
No.
I did I did something, but not that, but yeah.
I went in one of those float tanks, those saltwater float tanks, and only did because Moses the barber, my dear friend at home, his wife, Debbie, runs one of these places, and she insists that I try it. And I'm like, I'll do anything that Deb says. And her own husband, Moses the barber, would not even try it. He's like, you're not going to like it. I not only liked it, I loved it.
What exactly
So-
happens in this again?
You lay down in this pod of salt water and float, and you close almost the whole way. You can leave it open, you can close it, whatever you want. This soft music comes on, and you're sitting there in the dark, floating in salt water.
So I got an issue.
What's the problem?
I can't float in water. My body sinks.
I have the same problem, and you will
Okay.
100% float in this thing.
So you if you're in a pool, you're like me where like no matter what your legs just start dipping?
Have you seen my calves? They just everything goes down.
That's what mine.
Right to the
I
bottom.
sink right to
I
the
used to float. I can't float anymore. I don't
Jody
know
thinks
what
it's the funniest thing in the world. She's like
No,
big
it's hilarious.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, big bad athlete, blah blah blah. You can't float." I'm like squeezing tight. I'm like, "No, squeeze your glutes. Squeeze your I would do say nothing.
Try to keep your arms stiff and lay back, arch your back. I can't get it. I can't float.
Same here.
anymore. I
Yeah,
don't know
everyone.
what the problem
It's like a party trick. Everyone loves. Jody will be like, "Oh, everybody, watch Keith try to float," and then I sink.
You and a, is this? Did you try it in a speedo? You probably look good in a speedo.
I don't rock a speedo. No. Jody wouldn't let me do that.
Banana hammock.
He could do it though.
I have nothing. Excuse me.
You have rocked a Speedo before?
No, I don't wear a speedo. I would love. No, forget it. What? We're on TV. right?
What are you wearing? A thong?
Excuse me. Excuse me. What's going on?
Board shorts.
Yeah,
Board
no. I'm wearing. I actually.
You gotta wear board shorts because then if you go into the ocean, you don't want to get all the sand and the salt.
Yeah, no, I don't need any of that.
The
Yeah,
sand
no.
in the places.
And then you
That
get
was
the
good.
chafing.
Oh, the worst.
The worst. Like I'm looking forward to summer though.
Yeah, I made the big change this year to those. Like I got rid of the old school bathing suits that used to have the little white mesh in there. Those are terrible.
No good.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
they're
these-
okay for the pool, but no, you gotta
they
use the
squeeze
board
things that shouldn't be getting
You
squeezed.
gotta use,
Yeah.
you gotta use the board shorts. The board
Yeah.
shorts are the best.
Yeah.
Chubby's has a good brand. Fair Harbor has a good brand now. Bathing
Dave,
suits.
do you have a little Super Bowl hangover? Like, what are you looking forward to now?
Absolutely Super Bowl hangover. This is the week when everybody used to take vacation in the book, except the grunts. We used to have to work. Try to make sense of the NBA for the next couple days before they go to the Utah for the All-Star break. Impossible to do.
You can't bet on basketball this weekend. Like today, I think today and tomorrow are probably the last 2 days you can bet on the NBA.
Yeah, and it's very, very cautiously.
Yeah.
I would say it's very cautiously because even the professionals just write off this week.
Yeah.
You know, they either collect their winnings or lick their wounds, but they're done. So dive into some hockey, start to look at some exactas for hockey. They're out now. At
Oh, they're
certain
out?
books. Yes, they are, Moose. Yes, they are. Did a
So,
little,
who are your 3 East teams? What do you got? Canes, Bruins, and Rangers now,
those are 3 good choices.
right?
What
I
are
think
your
those are
three?
three
What are you
good
going to be playing? Because you're great with this.
I love
You're
I love
great
when
with
you do this.
baseball.
I-
You nailed in the Super Bowl. What are you
I-
going to be doing here?
I'm gonna go through this week and try to nail down who we gotta try to anticipate the team that's gonna make a move that's a little bit below now.
Yeah.
That's gonna be able to make that move up.
Who gets
And
Timo
then I
Meyer
gotta-
too?
I gotta figure out the path. Like I talked to a lot of guys from Pittsburgh over the weekend or over the week down there, and they think the Penguins are going to make the playoffs. I do not. But if they make a move and get a stud, there might be some numbers on them that could be pretty enticing if they could actually win a playoff series. But I'm a little biased with that. The West is the ones we got to really talk about because there are some big numbers in the West between Edmonton, the Stars, anyone but Colorado. But even Colorado's numbers are pretty good, still fair right now. So we got to figure out the West, boys. We got to get just one conference and get the West with either Boston, Carolina, and that third team. I want to say it's the Rangers, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, Lightning could be in the mix. Leafs and Fury could be in the mix, but I like the Rangers as my third team.
I think one of those 3, Boston, Carolina, or the Rangers.
Those are the 3 that I like.
We just got to get them in the Eastern Conference Finals. If you get them because I had Padres, Phillies in the NL, and then either won and got to the World Series, and we were set. So
How'd the burpees go, guys?
I didn't do no burpees in Arizona.
All right, so
I didn't do one.
Let's re-up. You got to have them done by Friday.
Fair.
Dave,
We'll roll them out.
We'll talk to you tomorrow at 10. We're rolling out. Moose and Keith.